Finally, I've been drafting this team for over a week. My biggest buy-in of the 2022 season. To be completely honest, this ties for my biggest buy-in of any league ever. So, the pressure was on. I was really hoping that we were going to be able to get a top 5 pick, and we ended up pulling pick 1. I know some people may have gone with a Christian McCaffrey, but I'll tell you where we went in just 1 second. Before we get into it, please go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. I mean, we're closing in on 90,000 subs, where if that does happen, we will get a 24-hour live stream going, drafting teams nonstop before the season. And also, I'm going to answer the first 200 comments of this video. So if you have any question, go down to the comment section. I will respond. I just appreciate all the support so damn much. And I think that should be it. Let's dive right into this video. Let's start it off with our pick at 1. We have Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I talked so much about this decision at the 101 this year, where I know a lot of smart people are saying, Mason, injuries are random. Go take Christian McCaffrey. He has a ceiling that really no other player in fantasy can match. I understand the thought process. I understand why people are saying that. And as I've said always, the fantasy football draft community overrates their ability to predict injuries. And if your analysis is centered around injury risk, 99% of the time, it's just lazy analysis. But it's Jonathan Taylor. I know that we have reports out of Indianapolis that they don't want to use him as heavily as they did last year. Why would they not? This is a running back going into year 3 that's always handled a workload that has him as that 3-down bell cow back, dating back to since college. He was more efficient as a pass catcher than Nyheim Hines last year as well. And he's missed a total of one game over the past 5 years. And that was due to a COVID close contact. He's a no-brainer selection for the 101 in my opinion. And now going to the 2-3 turn here. This is before we had the report that looks like Alvin Kamara is not going to get suspended this upcoming season. Now, if we would have known that Kamara was safe, we would have taken Alvin Kamara here alongside Javonte Williams at the 2-3 turn. But because we are still somewhat concerned with an Alvin Kamara suspension, here we decided to go with Javonte Williams at the end of the 2nd round and T. Higgins. Usually I find myself drafting Nick Chubb in this range, but Nick Chubb goes at pick 23. So we don't even have that option. We don't have the option to go with the Leonard Fournette. I thought it was a very simple pick. I know some people make the argument that you want to go ahead and to take a Michael Pittman Jr. over a T. Higgins based on the overall level of competition T. Higgins will have in Cincinnati for touches with the combination of both Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to put up approximately 1 million more points than the Indianapolis Colts, who are going to continuously try to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. And with this target tree in Cincinnati, they use Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. That is it. That is it. So even though there's serious target competition at the very top of the depth chart, you don't have those little leeches at wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 that are just going to be taking a small piece of this offense and making it so much harder for the wide receiver 2 to have an elite year. I expect this to be very similar to what we had with the 2019 Tampa Bay Buccaneers back when you had Chris Godwin as the wide receiver 2 overall and Mike Evans still as a wide receiver 1. I think here you have T. Higgins as Mike Evans. I think you have Jamar Chase as Chris Godwin. Now, I'm sure that y'all have seen us do this time and time again in these drafts. At the 4-5 turn, in my opinion, this is the way that you can have an edge in fantasy this year. In my opinion, this is how you go out there and crush your league mates. Instead of pushing up, say, marginal wide receivers that, yes, may give you a high floor, they project to have a nice target share, but their overall offense is going to cap their ceiling. Guys like a Brandon Cooks, a Darnell Mooney, you should not be pushing those wide receivers up to draft them out 48, 49. Instead, give me a player that can possibly finish number 1 at his own position. Give me a Darren Waller and a Patrick Mahomes. Now, ever since we've seen Sky Moore and Marcus Valdes-Scantling have their ADP steamed up, where it's a lot harder to stack Patrick Mahomes in today's drafts than it once was, I have begun to take Lamar Jackson over Patrick Mahomes just because I don't want to have to reach on those Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers where it's a lot harder to get them. We still managed to get a Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver later on in this draft, but especially when you're drafting on underdog, because when you're drafting on underdog, you know that these deep wide receivers are going to be pushed up because you have to start 3 receivers and it's best ball, of course. But if you want to draft on underdog, if you want to go maybe not get in $1,000 draft like us, but maybe instead get into a $3 draft, a $5 draft, I'm drafting with y'all in those every single night on the live stream. Go to the link in the description, go to the link in the live chat, go to the link in the comment section. When you go sign up for underdog, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. So you're legitimately getting paid to play fantasy football. On top of that, you're going to get my 2022 fantasy football rankings and my 2022 fantasy football draft guide with a $10 deposit. $10, and you are getting almost 300 pages of quality information. But let's go through. Let's move over to round 6 and round 7. And back when we made this selection, Michael Thomas did not have an ADP anywhere close to here. Back when we made this selection, Michael Thomas had an ADP where he was a late 7th round, early 8th round pick. But all offseason, I've been willing to go through and reach on Michael Thomas. I thought that was clearly the best value in fantasy football if we were just weighing the risk and reward profile, because with Michael Thomas, he was the exact opposite of Christian McCaffrey, where with CMC, yeah, he's had injury struggles in the past, but the fantasy football community is willing to go through and say, oh, you know what? The upside's there. Injuries are random. Christian McCaffrey should be pick 1. He should be pick 2. The fantasy football community has been willing to say that, but during the time we made this selection, Michael Thomas on underdog had an ADP of the wide receiver 40. And I was sitting here going, oh my God, guys, if you're trying to tell me that we need to be taking Christian McCaffrey the first, shouldn't we be reaching on Michael Thomas, the wide receiver that last time we saw him healthy broke NFL records? So that's exactly what we did. We reached on Michael Thomas, but since then, you actually now have Michael Thomas as a player that is steamed up to where you're never going to see Michael Thomas fall outside of round 5. So the fantasy football community has corrected their mistake partially, where we're no longer able to reach on Michael Thomas here to take him at the beginning of the 7th round. But still, I like both these wide receivers. From a raw talent perspective with Devonta Smith, I will say he is significantly more talented than the players being drafted in front of him, but I can't sit here and scream that he's the best value ever, because if I'm going to be realistic with you, he's in a very bad situation. Jalen Hurts is going to cap his overall passing upside, and at the same time, he's never going to be the wide receiver 1 here. It will be A.J. Brown. With that being said, though, I have a ton of Devonta Smith when you're able to draft him as a wide receiver 3, because at the end of the day, he's one of the most talented players you're going to be getting in this range. Now, going over to the 8th, 9th round turn, this is where things got really difficult for me. So what we were really wanting is the combo of Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Sky Moore. And what ended up happening is we ended up getting 2 values falling way down past their ADP. We had TJ Hawkinson, which in my opinion, I think that usually you need to be avoiding the mid-round tight ends, because if you're not getting a tight end that is upside to be a top 3 overall player at the position, pretty much tight end 6 all the way through tight end 20, they're about the same guy. It's about the same finish. You're going to be expecting a difference in like 2 points per game. So usually I'm avoiding those mid-round tight ends. I don't think there's any chance at all that a Dawson Knox, that a Zach Ertz end up being a top 3, maybe even tight end 1 overall player at the position. But with TJ Hawkinson, this is a tight end that in his age 23 and age 24 season, he actually had back-to-back finishes as the tight end 6 on a per game basis. On top of this, he has every trait you want to see from an elite level tight end prospect. Hell, he was a top 10 NFL draft pick. At the same time, he was a great athlete. Like, he checks boxes across the board. So if I see TJ Hawkinson falling to us at 96, we go through, we make the pick, and it's an auto pick for us. I don't care who else we have on this roster, pairing him up with Darren Waller. I think from a best ball perspective, maybe every once in a while, one of these guys can spike into our flex. And also, we're locking in elite level tight end production every single week. Now, the other selection that I made is by far and away the worst pick. The worst pick, and it's not even close, that I made in this draft, that I've made in a very long time, and it is painful that it happened in a $1,000 league. So let me set you up with my initial thoughts. When we go Patrick Mahomes at pick 49, we are wanting to take Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Sky Moore on the turn. However, we had Rashad Penny fall about 14 picks past his ADP. And y'all know Rashad Penny is not a running back that I've been advocating for. I mean, with Penny, I think that he's an elite level talent. I think he's going to start the year in Seattle as the starting running back. But I think eventually Rashad Penny is either going to get hurt, as we've seen every single year since 2018, or B, he's just going to get phased out of this offense for the younger running back, the future of the team with Kenneth Walker, where Penny may not even be startable by the time we get to week 8, week 9. But we were on the clock. We asked the people in our Discord, we asked people on Twitter what they thought we should do between Rashad Penny and Sky Moore, and I was getting flamed that we even asked the question. People were pressuring us into going with Rashad Penny. It was a horrible mistake on my end. At the end of the day, caved into the pressure. I was like, okay, if the starting running back's falling 12 picks past their ADP, I feel like we kind of have to take him here at pick 97. So we did, passed up on Sky Moore with the plan to get Mecole Hardman a little later on. And clearly, that is a horrendous mistake, as since we made that pick, Rashad Penny's ADP has actually fallen to where I think it probably should be about now, where this isn't even a great value anymore. And at the same time, Sky Moore's been steamed up because training camp reports out of Kansas City are fantastic regarding Sky Moore. So I want to apologize to my mother. I want to apologize to my father. I want to apologize to everyone a part of the flock and my bank account that I went out there and I disappointed you in this way to take Rashad Penny at 97 over Sky Moore on a team where we took Patrick Mahomes earlier at the beginning of the 5th round. But let's move down. Let's go to pick 120. Pick 120, 121. These were auto picks for us. I mean, we didn't have to think about this at all. We're going to get Cordarrelle Patterson here at 120. I mean, with Cordarrelle Patterson, this is a running back that, yes, we'll see serious regression this upcoming season. I mean, he is the next oldest running back right after Derrick Henry in fantasy football drafts. I mean, you never want to be drafting a running back over 30 years old, especially a running back where if we take a step back, we look at his entire NFL career. This past season definitely just looks like an outlier. But what I will say is, even if he significantly regresses, it's still a fine pick at 120. He was the running back 15 last year on a points per game basis. And while, yes, they bring in Tyler Algier, at the same time, they are losing out on so many touches, so many combined targets and carries from guys like Calvin Ridley not being in this offense this year, from a Wayne Gallman, a Mike Davis being gone, Russell Gage being gone, a couple other secondary wide receivers. There are hundreds of targets up for grabs and over 150 carries as well in Atlanta. So I think, yeah, Kyle Pitts takes a step forward. Drake London comes in, and he is an upgrade over Russell Gage last year. But at the end of the day, there's so much volume available that Cordarrelle Patterson can afford to take a step back and still easily finish as a player, as a low-end running back 2, high-end running back 3, and we're drafting him here as a borderline running back 4. Now, 121 at the time we made this pick, Mecole Hardman was healthy. We needed to go through. We needed to stack up with Patrick Mahomes in a best ball format. I thought Mecole Hardman was the selection. I'm recording this on August 17th, and we just had a report that Mecole Hardman walks off the field, loads himself up on a cart, and is being evaluated for a groin injury. So depending on the severity of this $1,000 could maybe get flushed down the drain if Mecole Hardman misses a significant amount of time this upcoming season. And we decided to pass on Sky Moore earlier on at the beginning of the 9th round in favor of Rashad Penny. But at the time, this was 100% the selection. And if Mecole Hardman's healthy, I'm going to be completely fine with this as well. Now, going over to the 12-13 turn, we go with Devontae Parker and Christian Watson here. Now, this was directly before you had the George Pickens hype, everybody coming out just steaming George Pickens up drafts, which, of course, I mean, if we could go back in a time machine, we'd probably take, honestly, the combination of Pickens and Christian Watson here. Now, I know we reach on Christian Watson a little bit, but I'm standing by this. I am looking at the Allen Lazard profile saying there's nothing special here. I don't see what y'all are seeing with Allen Lazard. He's the wide receiver 1 on paper, but I don't know if that projection is set in stone. I think there is that outside chance that a Romeo Doubs, a Christian Watson, really anybody, and Aaron Jones even, leads this team in targets over Allen Lazard. So getting a cheap shot on Christian Watson here at the beginning of the 13th round, in my opinion, this is going to be a no-brainer selection. I'd do this 10 times out of 10. What I would change is going back and switching Devontae Parker with George Pickens. Now, going down to the 14-15 turn, in my opinion, another great turn for us. We decided to take Jameis Winston at pick 168. So, of course, this is going to be one of those differences between best ball and your casual redraft league. In your casual redraft league, when you get to the 14th round, it's like your last pick. You're going to go through, you're going to take your defense. You're never going to think about taking a second quarterback on a team where you decided to draft Patrick Mahomes. But since it's best ball, you have to take these other guys because you're not going to have access to the waiver wire. So we did decide to go with a Jameis Winston. He does correlate with our Michael Thomas selection that we had earlier on at the beginning of the 7th round. I think we're getting great value with Jameis. I think we're getting great value with Michael Thomas. Super happy with that situation. And then we also take a Wan'Dale Robinson at the beginning of the 15th. With Wan'Dale, he is undersized. I know a lot of people are going to be burnt because of Rondale Moore last year. Obviously, a lot of people getting excited when we saw some flashes from Rondale Moore. But with Wan'Dale, I mean, he's a wide receiver that was dominant. I repeat, dominant his final season as a true junior in the SEC at Kentucky. I mean, he accounted for over 40% of his team's receiving production. He declares early for the NFL draft. He broke out as a freshman, and he gets second-round NFL draft capital. So it is a red flag that we're having to deal with the size question marks for a Wan'Dale Robinson. But at the end of the day, from an analytical profile, the man's dynamic. The man is a very, very strong receiver that I'll be happy to take at 169. And now at the 16-17 turn, we do decide to go with a Raheem Mostert here at 192. I mean, there's not too much to say. This was about the time where you had the Miami Dolphins coming out and labeling Mostert as well as Chase Edmonds as co-running back ones in this offense. I don't think that's the case. Although I've never been a massive Raheem Mostert fan, I am going to go through. I'm still going to prefer Chase Edmonds. Like, I was making videos calling Mostert the worst value in drafts whenever you were having to take him at like pick 150, 160. Here at 192, when we do get the positive reports coming out of camp where it does look like he's clearly playing above Sony Michel, which is one thing that we had to be on the lookout for. I think all of a sudden he is a more exciting pick. We needed a running back 5 in the roster, and we were looking at him, Marlon Mack, Dearness Johnson, J.D. McKissick, Darrell Williams. So I thought Mostert was the easy call. And then at the beginning of the 17th round, we just have to go through. We have to find another wide receiver that can give us some random spike weeks. And at the wide receiver position, I was pretty damn excited to just go ahead and to take Sammy Watkins. We already had Christian Watson earlier in this draft, so we are going to get some correlation in that Green Bay Packers offense. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I fell in love playing Dynasty Fantasy Football back in 2014. That's when I started following fantasy football, started evaluating rookie draft classes. And if you don't remember that 2014 NFL draft class, you had some great names. You had guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Allen Robinson, Brandon Cooks. I mean, you had a Mike Evans, you had an Odell Beckham Jr., but the player that was the wide receiver 1 coming out of Clemson in that draft class was Sammy Watkins, viewed as one of the best wide receiver prospects, at least I've ever seen. I have a soft spot in my heart for Sammy Watkins, someone I always want to root for. Obviously, he's attached to a great quarterback. There is an outside chance, though, that Watkins is not on the Green Bay Packers by the time the season starts. But if he is, he should be playing a considerable amount of snaps. And as I've already mentioned, I want to be betting against Allen Lazard where I can. And then our last pick in this draft, this shouldn't help you at all if you're just a casual redraft drafter. But if you are drafting on Underdog Fantasy with us, which we do every single night on the live stream because it's so much fun, hell, I think that when we get the opportunity to just go through and to take a Zach Wilson 216, it's probably something that we have to do. I mean, with Zach Wilson, we don't have any other Jets on this team, but at the end of the day, who's going to help our roster more? I mean, a Zach Wilson or a Velus Jones Jr.? In my opinion, going quarterback's an easy answer here, especially when we know that quarterback has Garrett Wilson, he has Elijah Moore, he has Breece Hall, he has Corey Davis, he has Braxton Berrios. Like, he has so many weapons that I feel like he's a pick that we have to make here in the 18th. But I think that's all I got for y'all. I'm actually pretty proud of this $1,000 draft. I love the value that we got on someone like Michael Thomas. Love the value that we got on Winston, Wan'Dale. I mean, I can even throw Christian Watson into that mix. What is going to really matter here is Mecole Hardman healthy? How much time is he missing? And can this team overcome my horrendous decision to take Rashad Penny over Sky Moore? Those are the two things we need to be on the lookout. Outside of that, love the draft. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Like I said, I'm also going to answer the first 200 comments on this video. So if you have any questions, go down to the comment section. I'd be happy to give you my opinion on them. But thank you again. I appreciate all of you. I really do hope I get to see you in the live stream tonight. And if you want to draft in that live stream with us tonight, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up so you'll get our rankings, you'll get our draft guide, literally just a $10 deposit. So thank you again, guys. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you tonight.